Chapter 12 in Business 110, Distributing and Promoting Products. If I had written the textbook, this would be two separate chapters because they're two very different kind of activities, but I didn't write the textbook, so let's just dive in because there's a lot of information. So one of the things that I want you all to understand is what a supply chain is. You hear a lot about supply chain management, and there's problems with the supply chain, but all a supply chain is when an organization gets the raw material, it produces the product, and then it delivers it to the customer. So there's several steps along the supply chain, but it's a system where the organization does all that. Now, in the supply chain is something called distribution channels. And these are marketing entities in the supply chain. And these are between the producer and the end user. So these are organizations that they say entities, but organizations that go between when the company produces it and the people who sell it. So there's 4 different types of marketing intermediaries, agents and brokers, industrial distributors, wholesalers, and retailers. Agents and brokers, they work on commission. One of the easiest ways to kind of think about this is a real estate person. A real estate agent, they don't buy the house that you're looking at to buy. Their basic job is to connect a buyer with a seller. So they typically work on commission and they don't take possession of the goods. So they work to get the buyers and the sellers together. Industrial distributors, you don't see this a whole lot. Usually it's in really industrial, like mining and petroleum and aircraft manufacturing. What happens is that they will buy a lot of very similar products from different producers, and let's just work on mining. Maybe maybe a miner will say, I need 15 pickaxes, and the industrial distributor will say, okay, I've got pickaxes from company ABC, company XYZ, and company H. Which one do you want? Because the distributor is going to have bought all of them, and they work with just that specific industry. Wholesalers are something that probably most of what you can think about comes from wholesalers. They buy from the manufacturer and sell it to the retailer. Okay, so Wonder Bread. Okay, the wholesaler is going to buy it from the bread factory and turn around and sell it to Food Lion. Okay, and then retailers are what you and I think of as stores. And sometimes the retailer does buy direct from the manufacturer. Not often, though. So there are advantages to having these channels. Your book talks about the sorting, accumulating, and allocating. And it uses the example of eggs, okay? So rather than the farmer having to buy or having to sell several different sizes of eggs in small sizes, the, let's say, wholesaler can get those eggs and sort them so that you have a dozen large eggs, a dozen medium eggs. So that's one of the advantages of sorting. Another advantage is just locating buyers for the merchandise. So think about a real estate agent, okay? They actually advertise, hey, this property is for sale. So they're locating buyers for the merchandise. Now, as I said, wholesalers are probably something that you're very familiar with. Two different types of wholesalers. Now, we're not talking, these are kind of the market intermediaries, the wholesalers, and then the wholesalers are broken down again. So a merchant wholesaler buys from the manufacturer and sells to the retailer. They take the title of the goods. So pick a shirt, okay, a box of shirts. The wholesaler, the merchant wholesaler, is going to buy it from the sewing factory and sell it to Walmart. They take possession of, and even their shirts don't have titles, they actually would take possession of a bill of lading. And those would, that they would legally own those shirts until they sold them to the retailer. Wholesale agents and brokers bring buyers and sellers together. Just like a real estate agent would bring buyers and sellers together, a wholesale agent would bring buyers and sellers together. You don't see this very much on the wholesale side. You see it a lot on like retail side, where, again, real estate agents. I really can't think right now of an example of a wholesaling agent and broker, but I'm sure they're out there. So that moves us to retailing. There's a table, it's table 12-1. It goes through all the different types of retailers. I think it's an excellent table. I take advantage of taking a look at that. But it's, it talks about things like department stores. That's one of the things they talk about. And then they talk about convenience stores. And I'm trying to find it. Hold on. Supermarkets, factory outlets, catalog stores, vending machines, direct selling, specialty stores. All of that is in table 12-1, and I encourage you to take a look at it. When we talk about retailing, not always, but typically, we're talking about a physical location. And your book talks about some things about the physical, actual retail establishment. It's called atmospheric. And some of the things they talk about is employee type and density. So we kind of know this instinctually, but if we go to Walmart, we don't expect to see an employee at every other aisle, right? They don't have a lot of employees, and the employees aren't typically roaming the store trying to help you. Now, you go to an expensive department store. Let's say, I don't know, pick one. And you're going to see more employees. They're going to be dressed differently than the employees at Walmart. And their main, rather than just checking you out, running a cash register, their main duties may be more customer service oriented. So that's what they mean by employee type and density. And that does make a difference in how you shop. Merchandise type and density. Okay, I want you to picture a Dollar General. You're tripping over the boxes. You can barely get your cart through because boxes are everywhere. And then think about something like Macy's or another department store, Belk, whatever. The merchandise is better displayed and more organized. So that's what merchandising type and density means. In Dollar General, you may have to find whatever you're looking for. And in fact, I've been in some Dollar Generals when they'll say, it's in that box, just go ahead and open it, okay? That is not going to happen at a high-end department store. Fixture type and density. That is kind of, how is it displayed? What is the lighting? Is it bright? Hollister's is a classic example of a store that is not well lit. And that's just part of their image. How are things displayed? Again, think of Dollar General, and then maybe something like the Gap. Different ways of displaying things. Sound, music plays a big part in atmospherics, and so does smells. Most people love the smell of bread baking. So that's why in a lot of grocery stores, the deli is up front so that when customers enter, they can smell that wonderful smell. Now, this is where your textbook kind of goes on to a completely different subject. Promotional strategy, promotions, advertising, how to get your name out there. So, creating awareness, and these are the 7 things that promotions want to try to achieve. Not all at the same time. Excuse me. Not all at the same time, but these are 7 different strategies. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. Number 4, keeping loyal customers. Big part of advertising. It's a whole lot cheaper to keep a customer than to get a new customer. When a product is brand new, you want to create awareness. People probably don't know that it's out there, okay? Another one, number 5, increasing amount and frequency of use. Customers know it's out there. Now, let's see if we can get them to use it more and more and more. So those are the 7 steps or 7 strategies for promotions. Let's talk about how you do that. The promotional mix. Traditional advertising. Think about billboards, television commercials, magazine advertisements, just the traditional advertising that we see every day. Most of us don't even realize that we're being advertised to because we see it so much. Personal selling. Never underestimate the impact of personal selling. Most of us think of things like Avon, maybe car dealerships, but personal selling is part of the promotional mix. Public relations. This is part of the promotional mix too. Public relations. Think about there's 2 things that I talk about here. Golf, a golf tournament. You know, you can spend $100 and have your sign at the 10th hole, okay? That's an example of public relations. Or I sometimes, to me, lump in something called sponsorships. So think NASCAR. What is the first thing a NASCAR driver says after they've won the race? I want to thank my sponsors, okay? So the sponsors give him money and they put their names on the car. That's not exactly traditional advertising, it's sponsorship, which to me goes under public relations. Social media is big now, and e-commerce. You can sort of think about those 2 kind of as the same side of, or different sides of the same coin. Because if you have a social media presence, most of the time you have an e-commerce site, but not always. Wendy's and Burger King have great social media pages, and a lot of times they go after each other, but they don't necessarily have an e-commerce site. So that's, social media is something to be used for promotion. And the last thing I want to talk about, and this comes under personal selling, is the selling process. And you will see this in several courses. The 6 steps to selling. Prospecting and qualifying. You want to make sure that you're going to give your spiel to the right person. You want to approach that customer. You want to present and demonstrate the product, handling objectives, closing the sale, and following up after the sale. And I used to ask in a test which one of those is most important, but I've come to realize that really all 6 steps are important if you're going to make a sale. So that's the personal selling side of promotions. Hope that helps. Bye.